Good afternoon, Terry Curry joining us from your home office, from my home office. Welcome to Connections That Matter. Terry Curry is our guest today from Infinite Business Strategies, and our topic of the day is optimizing your workforce from home, managing versus micromanaging. And I mean, Terry, we talked about this a few weeks ago, right? And I gave you the example of what do we do if an employee is saying that they're too busy, and then we see them at the club, we see them at the pool, at the gym, hanging out. Obviously, we are in an unprecedented time. Obviously, there's no better way to actually phrase that yet. I'm trying to figure it out. If I figure it out, I'll let you know. But we had a great conversation about that then, and so I'm excited about our topic today. Terry, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into managing versus micromanaging.
All right. Well, like you said, I'm Terry Curry. I work with Infinite Business Strategies, and I'm collaborating with Jen over at Joint Pivot, Pivot with Jen. But I've been doing consulting or partnering with companies for the last 13 years. And, I kind of been tagged as a process guru because I'm very process driven. And I think there's hidden potential in everything that we do as a person, as a leader, and even in your business, there's hidden potential in that. And I've kind of enjoyed the last 13 years helping others actually explore and develop their potential.
Got it. I love that. Hidden potential. We keep saying this untapped potential, but I like the hidden potential too. Terry, obviously, working with Jen and the clients that you do in this uncertain time and this new time for people, people have had to pivot quite quickly and be really nimble. Obviously, engagement of your employees is a very hot and important topic right now. But more importantly, what are some suggestions or what are you specifically hearing or working on with your clients about keeping employees feeling like they belong? So I feel like having your employees feel like they belong still first is the first step, and then making sure that they're engaged. So tell us a little bit about the work you do with your clients and your thoughts on that.
No, very good. It's very interesting because now in today's environment, we're also doing workshops on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when we talk about inclusion, a lot of people don't really understand what that means. But, we always say that people don't leave organizations, they leave people. So we like to work with leaders on helping people feel included. When someone is included and they feel like they're a part of something, they become happy and they actually put their best foot forward. So, when you talk about making sure that someone is actually feeling included, I know the topic is, macro managing versus micro managing, right? And we always start off by making sure we establish those rules of engagement. What are those clear expectations? What's the operating model on how you're going to operate with the individual that's working remotely? And one thing that I normally do to get people feeling like they're a part of the process, since this is new to everyone, we call it the new norm, but it's all about you getting that feedback and having that two-way conversation. So I always ask people, hey, how's it going? Can you tell me, is there anything that we can do to improve what we're doing right now? What are your thoughts? How can we make this a part of what you evaluate on a daily basis and get that feedback? And then I want them to see not only is their opinion valuable to me, they see me writing it down, and then I kind of reinforce it at the end of the conversation to make sure I understood what they were saying. But then I try to incorporate something. It might not be everything, but at least one thing, and I'll highlight that to them because now they feel like they're a part of the process and that their voice is being heard.
Terry, you checked me a couple of weeks ago and gave me some good perspective when I said, like, what do you do when you see people on social media and they're like in the middle of the day and there's work to be done and they're taking time for themselves to be outside? And hey, I am the queen of set good boundaries, have work-life balance or work-life blending, whatever you want to call it. But you said something to me. You're like, listen, if that employee is getting their work done, they're helping other people around them, and they're checking out early to take some time for themselves, that's okay. And I'm like, okay, that's good perspective. So tell me your thoughts on that, and how much is too much checking in, and where should we create those boundaries?
That's a very good point. I mean, when you think about it, people all have different speeds that they work at, right? I know when I was in the automotive industry and a manufacturing environment, I had my engineers trying to streamline operations. One thing I would do is I would find that individual that they didn't really want to go and watch, right? The person says, well, they're difficult to work with. They don't like talking to me or anything like that. And I said, you know what? That person's probably going to be the most efficient. If you put them on that new job, they're going to find all the waste in that operations. They're going to find ways to improve it. So when I look at things, one, like I said before, you start off setting those boundaries and the rules of engagement, but you also have to make sure that the expectations are clear. And if you keep in your mind that as long as they finish what they're supposed to do to the quality level that I expect, then I'm happy. Everything else is bonus. There's more in the beginning as you adjust to this new norm, right? People don't know necessarily how to work from home. You can't assume that they know how to work from home, right? So
Yeah.
I used to tell all my guys, listen, I will always be a micromanager in the beginning until we're aligned. We're aligned on processes, we're aligned on expectations, and then I back out as my confidence level grows that we're at least going to meet our objectives. So for instance, if I tell you we have a certain task to be completed, what are the steps are you going to take to get there to make sure that we meet this deadline? And you say, I'm going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we'll get there. Okay, well, my confidence level isn't too high. But if you say, listen, Terry, I've looked at it, it's going to take me roughly 45 minutes worth of work working on this spreadsheet and this other data, analyzing this data per day so that I can accomplish this much a week. So by the end of 4 weeks, I should be here. That gives me enough time to report out to you ahead of time and to make sure that we're aligned in expectations. Now, if they told me that, I'm going to back off a little bit. But most people, we did a study actually on why people micromanage, and people micromanage because of a lack of confidence. So
Yeah.
if you look at a chart and you look at the confidence level, as the confidence level increases, your engagement on a daily basis with that individual decreases. So it's the
Yeah.
exact same thing. So you have, instead of it being a straight line, you make it an exponential line. So you have that high engagement in the beginning to get aligned and to build your confidence at the same time, and then you back off.
How are you advising clients, or what do you suggest as far as tracking goals and results for remote workers? Is it just a matter of tweaking the frequency of your performance feedback? Is it, I like the upfront, hey, if you, it sounds like what I heard you say was, if the employee, if the team member has a plan and you know they're going to execute on that plan, but then how are you ensuring that those results and goals are being met in a larger fashion?
That's a very good point. We always have a saying that if you're not keeping score, you're just practicing. And I'm a true believer in that. I mean, I believe in numbers. We
Yeah.
can argue all day about the definition between good and bad. I mean, your good day might be, well, listen, nothing bad happened and I kind of got everything done that I wanted. And my definition of good may be something totally different because I'm looking at the level of engagement, I'm looking at the quality level of what was produced. But if I can convert that to some type of number, we all are going to agree that five's more than four. You would agree that five's more than four, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I can give you to some type of number where I'm measuring performance, now I have a definition of what good actually looks like. So I always tell people, like in the beginning, you set your expectations, and once your expectations are there and you back off, now you're going to create some type of summary of activities that's quantifiable. And when you think about it, I mean, I've been in leadership positions before, and I should tell my guys, listen, I don't have time for all the details. Normally, always give me a 30-second elevator speech. I want to know, how are you doing? How do you know you're doing well? What have you done since the last time we talked? What are
Yeah.
you going to do till we talk again? And what help do you need from me? All in 30 seconds. So if you think about it, if you're managing individuals that are working remotely, that's the input that you want. So create environments where they can give you that, where you're not necessarily micromanaging, whether that's a summary, whether that's a dashboard, or some type of update on a regular frequency.
Terry, I want to end with this, and I, unfortunately, fortunately, as it's a hot topic of conversation, but what other challenges are your partners facing right now during the pandemic? I originally said when I was typing out some of our high level questions I had written following the pandemic, but the pandemic is still very much alive. And along with our being in an election year, social unrest and things like that, there's a lot on people's plates. But specifically, what are some of the other challenges you see people are facing during this pandemic?
So, I mean, that's a very good point. One, I think it's very important that I recommend this to my clients that they sympathize with what people are feeling right now. People might not express their opinions, but they have them, right? So you create an open forum. I mean, we've been doing diversity, equity, inclusion workshops more frequently now because of what's going on right now, right? But having those open conversations is very important, but also you need to be able to kind of relate to what people are going on. A lot of times people will see you and you never talk about your problems or anything, and they don't feel comfortable that they have problems. They don't understand that, hey, I'm a real person too, and I have issues. I have a dog barking here. I have issues also. You know, I have that siren that goes off for the tornado warnings every Monday right during a Zoom call. I have to hurry up and hit mute and things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
those things like that happen. So when you think about some of the problems, you know, lack of face-to-face conversations, sometimes lack of access to information. I mean, for instance, everyone's at home internet service is not the same as at their job. There's frustrations that come along with that, right? But if you at least acknowledge those things, it makes it a little easier for them. So you want to make sure, first of all, listen, there's social isolation. I know some individuals that they live for coming to work because they love to talk and they love to talk to everyone. And if you ask them how their day's going, you better have 20 minutes allocated because they're going to tell you about their day.
right.
Create environments where that can actually happen. So also, one of the biggest problems I saw, and believe it or not, I was helping my wife with this. My wife's a counselor at a high school, and when they turned everything off and made everything remote, everyone was focused on the kids, you know, and what she should be. That's what school's about. But one of the biggest problems that they had were all these teachers that had no clue how to operate remotely. They're used to, they didn't use PowerPoint. They had, she had one teacher that has the little transparencies, and I know I'm showing my age, but you have
No, I remember
transparencies
those.
that you put up on the screen, and she's got the little marker and she's writing on things. So
Yep.
all of a sudden she's like, what do I do now? I don't even know how to do a PowerPoint, this Zoom thing they're talking about. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, she gave half of a lesson on mute one time because people were messaging her, but she didn't know what that was. So my wife created this little video that was given the tips on how to set up to work from home. So if you think about it, you know, don't assume like, so you asked me in the beginning, am I sitting in my home office? Well, yes, I'm sitting in my home office. You have an office space. We know to do that. Everyone doesn't know to create a space that you go into and it feels like work. Create that space. I don't care if it's a closet. I don't care if it's the attic. I don't care if it's the garage, but create that space. And then make that space feel cozy. Put things in there that remind you of work so you feel comfortable. So just taking the time to share with people how to set up to work from home, understanding what the challenges will be before they actually have them and have some stories around that goes a long way, and it reduces that anxiety because most people won't tell you about their stress and anxiety just from the stresses of working from home, right? A lot of times you work from home and people think, well, now you're always available at any given time. You're getting more work done than you did in your office, but people think
Yep.
you're available just because you're there. If you set the expectation that's going to happen ahead of time, it reduces the stress when it actually happens.
Yeah, that's a great, great point. And you know, you think about when you think about performance, usually going back to that beginning, creating the authentic connection, the confidence, and creating a space, creating a physical space, but creating a space for your team to say, I'm struggling this week, because what ends up happening is their performance starts to dip, and then you're starting to have performance conversations without really understanding what they're dealing with. So sympathizing, empathizing, asking like, what does your home workspace look like? Those are simple questions, Terry, that I think we can easily put into practice. I want to thank you so much for the tips today. It's helped us personally, especially our audience, being small to middle market businesses, even large businesses, no matter what. Everyone is sort of dealing with the same challenges. And the best way to deal with a lot of these challenges is just being human first, right? And understanding that
Absolutely.
people are dealing with human things. So Terry, I love our conversation. I appreciate the time today. Tell us how we get in touch with you at Infinite Business Strategies. How do we find you, Terry?
So we have infinitebusinessstrategies.com. That's the best way is our website. Or you can go to jointpivot.com because we have a collaboration page. We do everything together there. You can feel free to email us at info@infinitebusinessstrategies or info@jointpivot.com. We actually offer free 30-minute consultations if people just want to talk about how we can help them take their business to the next level or to help them with their current problems or help them prepare for their future. So there are several ways to do that. We're starting to work on our social media presence. So you'll see us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter also.
And Terry, I won't judge you on social media if I see you at the pool, okay? Deal?
Deal. Because most likely I'm working.
Awesome.
I'm just working on me. That's the job.
I like that. That is the job. Thank you so much, Terry.
All right. Thank you.